Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Small Town Tourist Podcast, where we experience and explore everything that makes small towns great. I'm your host, Abby, and today we are heading to my hometown of Long Prairie, Minnesota, to hang out with my old German teacher. Well, I didn't take German, but I took her classes for other things. We're hanging out with Luan Thomas-Brunkhorst. I know her as Frau Lu, and we are going to be talking about her new role with the Chamber of Commerce in Long Prairie. Not new, I guess. She's been in it for a few years now. But I know her as a teacher. It's hard to kind of change that mentality when you know someone as a teacher and you had them for how many years. But I had such a great time hanging out with her. We were talking about one of my favorite events of the entire year, and that is the Long Prairie Craft Fair. This happens the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Every single year, this is one of the biggest craft fairs in the state, I believe. It's impressive to see all of the arts and crafts that come out for this. It is so much fun. It's a great way to kick off the holiday season, and I can't wait for you to hear all about it. So please enjoy our time hanging out with Luan, aka Frau Lu. Okay, so I have everyone start by giving me their name, where they're from, and what they do. Okay. So whenever you're ready.
Okay, my name is Luan Thomas-Brunkhorst. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, but now I've been living in Long Prairie, Minnesota since 1999.
Wow.
Yes.
So 25 years.
25 years almost. Woo!
It's crazy.
I know it is. It is. Taught for 15 years, taught German for 15 years, and now I'm at the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development.
And teaching is how I know you. Like, you are forever in my brain as Frau Lu, and I wasn't even a German student.
I know people still around town, they come up and say, what should I call you now?
Especially with the job change. I'm sure that's kind of been a hard thing to navigate.
Well, 15 years. I remember the first year I was teaching, I looked at the football field and all the football jerseys. I knew every single one on the team. I was just it was like being at home and knowing who they were, and they know who I am. Mm-hmm. And then their kids are going to know who I am. Oh, this is Frau Lu, Yep.
That's just how you get introduced.
My students come up to me and say, Frau Lu.
So before we get into what we're here to talk about today, which is the Long Prairie Craft Fair, I want to hear how you guys came to Long Prairie, because a lot of people in this town have just been here forever. Their parents were here. Their grandparents were here. Their parents were here. So you guys are kind of like transplants. So what was it like coming to this area?
Well, so I lived in Pennsylvania and studied in New York, but I was an exchange student for a year in Germany. And then that's where I met my husband, my present husband. We had an 8-year long distance relationship and lived in Germany for about 6.5 years. And I had my teaching degree in German, and it was going to run out if I didn't start teaching. And so I would have studied for nothing, yeah. And so we looked for a job, and we couldn't get a job from abroad. So we decided to do a cross-country bicycle tour from Florida to Arizona. And then when we got to Arizona, we started saying, okay, now we really need to look for a job. And we're here, and we can interview, and it's not going to be a big problem. So I ended up interviewing in Las Vegas and in Long Prairie.
Those are two very different places. Was that just was there some sort of agency that was feeding you interview opportunities, and they're like Vegas or 3,000 people Long Prairie?
It was the beginning of this internet. It was weird. You got mail, mm-hmm. and schools, colleges were posting positions, not colleges, sorry, schools, high schools, they were posting, or colleges were posting positions. And so I just found a few. I also found Staples, but they wanted a Spanish and German. And I spoke Spanish, but I didn't feel comfortable doing both. Opening up one door, speaking Spanish, closing door, opening up another door, speaking German. Woo!
I feel like the mental load would be way too much. And then especially for beginner speakers, because you're translating everything to English for them too. And then it's the constant, I know when I was in Spanish class, it was constantly, ¿Cómo se dice XYZ? So you're
very
constantly...
Very good phrase. Yeah. Wie heißt in German, and ¿Cómo se dice in Spanish. Yeah. You could do that all day long. Yeah. Well, and then we interviewed in Las Vegas, and it was just so impersonal. And it was fun, exciting, in Las Vegas, and dry heat. And we had just crossed Texas and Arizona, so we were used to this dry heat, and there were no changes in the weather. And then we interviewed in Long Prairie for Mother's Day. or near Mother's Day. It was raining. It was green. It was lush. It was, oh my goodness, we started pounding. We were like, yay, a change in the seasons.
Yeah.
It was just gorgeous. And my husband was, at that time, it wasn't Countryside. What was it called? Way back
Geno's.
Geno's, exactly, Geno's. He was sitting at Geno's, and he said, and I found out that I got the job. And he said, so how do we get a house in this town? And they said, talk to the plumber. And it was Rod Erickson.
Oh my gosh.
And Rod Erickson got us our first house, and we rented from him. And then, strangely enough, we bought a house up on top of the hill across from Robinson's, Katie and Kate. And then we found a house that was Rod Erickson's childhood house.
No way.
I know, right on the river. I mean, it's just such a great just a great story. And so we are now living in Rod Erickson's childhood house.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And for everyone who's listening to this and you're going, who's Rod Erickson? Incredible guy. He ran the Long Prairie Plumbing and Heating. He was a Countryside over by Lake Charlotte. Yeah. Ran that for years. Just recently passed away. He was a county commissioner. Just a great guy and stand-up man. He'd help anyone in this town. He was my partner for ice bowling one year, and we did not win, but we had a great time.
I think I have a couple pictures of you. I had changed to, I'd been taught for 15 years, and then I became a Chamber of Commerce director. And what I love most about, or one of the things I love most about Chamber of Commerce director is that I get to take pictures, and I did that at school too, at my wall of fame, I remember a picture of you with making spaghetti or noodle houses or something like that.
We were doing some sort of like
for successful students.
Team building sort of thing. It was like spaghetti and marshmallows.
There we go. Yes, so I have pictures. And I just love doing that and showing and sharing what our community looks like. So I did bowling pictures of you. That was such a unique thing. Didn't it get on NPR or Star Tribune or something like that?
For everyone who's also not familiar with the concept of ice bowling.
Didn't they have turkeys first?
It started with turkeys, and then I think when the bowling alley closed, we got a bunch of like old cracked bowling balls or something like that. But basically you like drill like kind of like divots in the ice, and it's kind of the same thing as bean bags, only you're throwing bowling balls on a frozen lake, and everyone who's like, what is going on? But so when I was working at the radio station, this was just something like my friend group, we always did it. Like you go to the lodge and you do ice bowling in February. That's just what we do. And so I wrote a story about like what I do on the weekends, and it was ice bowling, and all of a sudden it just took off like wildfire, hundreds of thousands of clicks.
Like,
and then,
who does that?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like all the news stations down in the cities were like, what is going on in Long Prairie?
That's why they all found out about it.
Yeah, so that's how they all found out about it.
Oh my goodness, that is so funny.
Yeah.
And it was such a cult thing to do. I don't know if they're going to do it again this year. Last year was really warm.
Yeah, the lake hardly froze over last year, so it wasn't safe to be on it, so it didn't happen.
No. And so that's the story. But I just have to tell you one more thing. It's funny. My husband lives in Germany, in Mumshorn. It's a little town. It's Highway 71. Yeah, exactly. And so we got here. And my college in New York was on 287.
No.
Yes. And then we got here after saying yes in July, across the country in a Chevy Chevette, 72 Chevy Chevette. No rust because it was from Arizona.
Of course.
And then it got rusty. And then we got here and we smelled something. And the rendering company has a unique smell here in town, and they do great service. They're recycling lots of things. If we didn't have them, we'd have landfills filled with carcasses, dead animals within 4 years. And so what was I going to say now? Oh, yeah. And so it started smelling like that. Well, in Jurgen's hometown, within a mile of his house, is a rendering company.
No way.
I know. And so I don't like to say that it was meant to be because of that.
But like, there's this thing called invisible string theory where like things are just tied together in a way that we're not totally like, we can't explain it, but it just happens. Like
the stars of the highways align.
Yeah, in the rendering plants.
And there was this one old lady, she's in his town. She's 96 or something like that. And she'd go out, and as soon as it would start smelling, the company was called Fuchs, and she'd scream up into the sky, Fuchs! So when we are here and it smells a little bit, we go, Fuchs!
Can you imagine if like everyone in town, like when the wind was just right, it was coming right into town, everyone went outside and went, Central Buy!
Exactly. And I just had a business appreciation breakfast, manufacturer's breakfast, and Central Buy was our guest speaker. And they talked about rendering and what it is and how it works and how it's a positive thing.
Yeah.
And it's a necessary thing because, like I said before, the landfills would fill very quickly.
Well, and it provides so many jobs for this area, which is amazing.
Yes.
And it doesn't smell bad all the time. It's just when the wind is from a certain direction.
We just got to test the wind every once in a while. We can have a party. Where's the wind coming from?
Eventually you go nose blind to it anyway.
Exactly. It's like a lot of other things too. Yeah. So that's the story of our life in Long Prairie. And now we have two young boys, 17 and 14, and they go to the Long Prairie Gray Eagle High School. And a lot of my colleagues are still there. And it's so much fun to be with them and visit, and then go to prom. And you're the DJ at the prom, and you graduated. And how old are you now?
29.
And I just met another student today, works at Central By, a T. Schaefer. He's 35. I think graduated with Tyler Graves or something like that.
That'd be right around that.
Yeah. And so it's just all connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. All those, what did you say, hidden strings?
Invisible strings.
Invisible strings. I did a workshop once, and it was take a ball of yarn and throw it to someone you're connected to. And it was like a spider web at the end.
And this town would be that exact same way.
We'd be like covered. So who's cousin or uncle. And so that it's hard it's great with having these connections, but you have to be very diplomatic a lot of the time.
Especially in the role that you're in and the role that you came from.
That's true too. Yeah. In a teacher's role and as the Chamber of Commerce Director, in economic development, because you're helping a lot of people with resources and you're showing the best sides of town. And I really do love Long Prairie. A lot of my students say, what the heck, Valdo? You traveled across the country, you were in Mexico, lived in Europe. Why would you want to live in Long Prairie? It's just where we put down roots and got to know people, and you find things that are beautiful. I mean, simple things are beautiful. I mean, the lake, the beach, the pickleball courts now, the disc golf, just walking in peace and quiet with a nice shoulder, and bicycling with your children. And there's just so many positives. Good food downtown.
Yes.
Yeah. The multicultural atmosphere, the demographics are just amazing. So we get to use our Spanish. We get to use a little bit of German because some of the farmers, John Kroll just passed away. Bless him. He spoke German still. And a couple of his friends and neighbors and children still do.
Yeah, it is a very diverse community. Most people are shocked to hear that. Like when I say, I'm originally from Long Prairie, they're like, what's Long Prairie kind of like? I'm like, well, it's actually kind of cool. Like it's a really diverse small town, which you do not see a lot of.
No, not a small town like that. No. So, we really like it here. Our kids, they don't want to go away. We go to Germany every other year. And my one son was an exchange student for a year over there and came back. And he was just really happy to be back. I mean, he loved it there. He enjoyed his time. But his friends are his friends, and he bicycles or walks or drives now to his friends every day. Goes to the fitness center, and for his birthday, he goes to Lake Charlotte. They played pickleball, they played basketball, they came home and played Ghost in the Graveyard.
I love it.
I mean, isn't that wonderful?
So wonderful. That's like the ideal childhood. I mean, that's my childhood. That's exactly what I did.
Exactly. And now you're hunting. Yeah. And my son's now hunting. You are going out tonight. And Leifka, he went out. He's my 14-year-old. He just shot a doe on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, so connected. And we didn't go hunting with him. My husband and I don't hunt, but our neighbors do.
Yeah. And you can find those people, whatever you're kind of into and want to do. There's people here willing to help you out and get you started on the path to whatever hobby you choose.
It's so true. It's so true. So we have a lot to be thankful for.
We do. So let's get a little more into your role here at the Chamber. So you're more than just the photographer that's at literally every event. Like what's this kind of like an average, I'm sure not every day is different. So what does kind of an average week, month look like for you?
The mission of the Chamber is to promote chamber businesses or chamber businesses and nonprofits, because we have businesses and we have nonprofits, and the livability and connectedness of Long Prairie. So that's pretty broad, but also very focused. We want to promote. The Chamber is paid for with membership. So anyone who is a member, it can be promoted. Some want to be promoted more than others. Others just think it's something they do to support the community, because we talked about the livability and the connectedness. What I do is plan a lot of events. So coming up, we have Halloween trick or treat. We got those posters on the wall and on the front doors. I mean, you saw it as you came in. It's an orange poster. It's got over 80 businesses on there, and they all volunteer to open their doors so that the kids can come in and get candy. I mean, that's wonderful. Or they, like the packing plant and senior center, they're going to be on Main Street, and they're going to set up a table. And so that's an event that we do. The arts and crafts show that we're going to talk about later is coming up at the end of November. Diane Brandes had it for 30 years, and then she said she's going to let it go. And I said, what? No, we can't do that. I mean, thousands of people come to that event. Yes. And so the chamber decided to purchase it from her. And so we have it so that people can enjoy that Saturday. Well, it's not Black Friday. It's the day of
Small Business Saturday.
Small Business Saturday. There we go. So... And it's just an awesome, warm, cozy feeling when you go into the school. And you were a participant as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and the day before is Bright Light Friday.
Yep.
Or Bright Lights. Now I should know what it's called. Bright Light.
It kicks off the Christmas season.
Exactly. And there we go. And we have Bright Light Parade.
Yep.
And Kyle Lamb and his choir group are going to be caroling down at 110 Coffee. So you can get coffee and cookies and all that good stuff. And then sort of get into the mood. Then after the parade, you can go get your picture taken with Santa over at the River of Life Church and go ice skating. And like you said, just brings in the new season, holiday, and it's just a feel-good day. And then you just wake up, roll out of bed, and go to the craft fair.
Exactly.
The next day. Yeah. And over at the craft fair this year, I'm really excited. We've always had very good concessions, Char Rowe, Corey Rist, she did it last year, and it's a lot of work. Jill Hansen from the FACS department over at the school, she has kids that cook and plan meals, and she gets them licensed cooking, I forget what it's called, kitchen license or something to that effect. But the students are going to be serving food, making the food, serving the food, and probably delivering the food as well.
Oh,
yes.
Love that.
I know. And so they're coming up with recipes. I think it's a turkey dumpling that they're going to do. Yeah. I mean, that's really great.
That sounds fantastic.
Especially after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leftover turkey. And so they're going to do that. And David Blanche is going to do his rolls, his cinnamon rolls.
Iconic at this point.
Iconic. And then they decided that all the money that comes in for that is going to go straight to Mr. Blanchard.
Oh,
I know.
Heart melt.
I know, heart melt. That's the kind of little small town thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's a month. But so businesses, they also see promotion through participating in, let's say, Halloween trick or treat. Their name is on the list. People know that they are opening their doors for their children and for families around town. And it just gives you that feel good feeling that you're doing something for the community. And I have chamber members on the list. I have non-chamber members on the list, and everybody wants to participate. And what else is there that we do? So the whole year we plan for Prairie Days. I just told you, start in September, which is 9 months before Prairie Days. It's like a pregnancy.
The baby of Prairie Days.
And you just plan at certain times. You get the inflatables, you get the bands. I just asked you if you would DJ, but she's busy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, but that's good. Maybe the next year. But we'll get someone else who's related to someone here in town.
We'll find someone. I actually have a friend who's starting to DJ, and he's from Long Prairie, but he lives in the cities now. So we'll get you hooked up. Don't worry.
Get you hooked up. Yeah. And then the Klein connection's probably going to come back, or the connection they call in themselves.
Yeah.
But his son, niece, and himself, and maybe even his other daughter are going to be singing together. I know, and they have like awesome voices, and he has like 17 guitars, and he's the radio guy here in town, just for those people that don't know him. Cliff with one F.
He is the voice of Long Prairie. I've said it before, and I will say it again until the end of time. He is the voice of Long Prairie.
He is. And Al is his sidekick. No, just don't tell him that I said that. No, Al's the boss. Al's the boss. Yeah. So and all through the year, if there are sales, for example, this Friday and Saturday after Thanksgiving, we get a whole list of sales that are going to go on in Long Prairie. So that promotes businesses. It promotes shopping local. And from, let's say, Haley and Ray having some giveaways, and then and then the coffee shop giving everyone a free cup of coffee or something like that. Ace Hardware has sales, Fleet Supply. And they all send me their sales, and then we put it on a sheet. And then everybody can look and say, oh, I'm going to go to the Friday one at 6 o'clock in the morning and stand in front of the place for a I don't know, battery operated, something or
Yeah.
other, auger.
Whatever's on sale that you just have to have.
You just have to have, yeah. That's it. And today I talked about the business appreciation. Every month, the Chamber tries to connect businesses and people with our businesses and nonprofits. We have Chamber networking events, and they're either in the morning, the afternoon, or after hours. And it's hosted by, today it was hosted by the Economic Development, Long Prairie Economic Development and Todd County Economic Development, or TCDC. I just talked to Jose Alba from the CentraCare, and he wants to host the one in February. And so, yeah, and talk about careers in at CentraCare.
Yeah.
So, and then they host it. They provide the food, and then there's a nonprofit. They choose a nonprofit of choice. Sometimes it's Hands of Hope. Sometimes it's a church. Sometimes it's the food shelf. Sometimes it's a pregnancy research center. And then you put it on the table, and people throw in a couple dollars. It's not going to make you rich, but it's like the thought that counts.
Just a little way to give back.
Exactly. A little bit to give back. So about 12 months of the year, we have these events. And I just love seeing the faces and saying, you need to talk to that person because you have this project going. So you don't reinvent the wheel, and you help each other.
Yeah. It's just using who you know to make the community better.
Yeah. And then they introduce themselves, and it's like, oh, I always wanted to meet you. I've heard so much about you. I mean, if you were there, I'd say, hey, she's a student here in Long Prairie. Now she did radio, and now she's doing a podcast. And yeah. And then they'll say, hey, you want to come to my place and talk? We can talk about something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what's that saying? It's like your network is your net worth. But like,
ooh, I'm going to start using that.
yeah, it's all about who you know to just grow in every way, shape, and form as a human.
Yeah. Yeah. And inform people about what's going on. I mean, like this morning I told you about Central Buy and the rendering company. And a lot of people didn't even know what rendering means. And what are they doing over there, and why does it stink? And then we asked questions, and he gave us answers why this and this happens.
Yeah. It's those questions that you might sit and have for years and years and years and never have an answer for. And then it's like, oh, well, light bulb goes off. I'm smarter now. And now I can answer that question for other people who might be wondering the same things.
And I was amazed. There are 10 manufacturers here in town. And out of those 10, 8 were at the event.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Great turnout.
It was really good. We had about 55 people.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Up at the country club. I have to
Nice.
give a plug. See, we do this all the time. Promoting. It has to do with just like spreading the good news and saying, well, country club, they have a great space up there. Lots of windows. And then the sun came up, and then you could see the oak tree.
Yeah.
It was a gorgeous morning.
As an ex-employee of the country club.
Oh, there you go.
gotta
That's
plug
right.
it. You gotta plug it.
I do remember you behind the bar there.
I loved working there. That was like the best summer of my life.
My son is going to apply this year.
Yes, he has to. It's such a great job.
He wants to do the groundskeeping. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, being outside.
Being outside, yeah.
Yep. The grounds crew would always come in about 9 a.m. and raid my Gatorade fridge and then go back out.
He'll be one of those, definitely. Bye.
So the big reason I wanted to have you on the podcast today was to talk about the craft fair, because this is an event that has been a part of my life. Literally, some of my earliest memories are going to the craft fair that Saturday after Thanksgiving, shopping with my mom, going with my grandma, buying fun things, seeing everything that people make. And then I ended up becoming a vendor there for
What was it, dog bandanas?
Yeah, I was doing dog bandanas for years. And this is my first year not as a vendor there in a while. So I wanted to talk to you about it and get a little background for everyone who's unfamiliar and just promote the event because it's a great one.
Well, the brand is, Diane. She started it, and she started it over at the old middle school, elementary. And then when the high school was built, she moved over there, and she has over 165 vendor spots. Now, I think there's about 150 vendors because some of them take 2 or 3,
right,
and some take even 4 spots. And I'm with you too. As soon as I came to Long Prairie, that's one of the first things that I did in November. I went to this arts and crafts show, and I'm a sucker for earrings and scarves, and so I spent too much money, and my husband doesn't come with me.
We all spend too much money at those things. I always walk in and go, I have $20. That's my limit. And I'm like, well, there went 200.
Exactly.
Added an extra 0 to it.
Well, and when she said that she was just going to retire and close it up, I said, no, we can't, because I like going to it. And so after everything is done, I think we've had it this is the 3rd year.
Okay.
The first year she hung out with me and helped me through it. Second year we did it all by ourselves. And then the 3rd year we did it again, and it's getting better and better. And my husband's a surveyor, so we redid the map. He took his surveying equipment into the gym. Because I said, I do not want 9 by 11s. I want 10 by 10s.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's complaining, but a lot of them say, this is not a 9 by 11. And that just doesn't fit. So we just do 10 by 10s. So he did that.
Did he have the little wheel out there measuring it out?
He did. Yes. And we tape it down with a little blue tape.
Yes.
Not with masking.
No.
That was a fiasco. We purchased it, and now we have it. And it keeps the tradition going. And last year, Kevin Langer, who's former police chief, and David Blanchard, they always get dressed warmly.
Yep.
I'm looking at your camouflage right now. They wear their camouflage. They wear their blaze orange so that they're seen.
Chopper
and their
mittens.
vests. Chopper mittens. Yeah, exactly. And then they said the parking lot filled up. I don't even remember how many times, but more than ever. And we had to use River of Life Church, the parking there. So, and yes, maybe some vendors didn't sell as much as they thought they would, but others do. And it's just, sometimes it's a crapshoot. And some people go buy yours and then buy something, and sometimes they won't,
Right. And in my years of being a vendor, I just sold Minnesota Mutt-Co back in September to a local groomer here in Long Prairie. So they're taking it over as of now. But in the years that I was a vendor, I always did the Long Prairie show. And that was like my cornerstone show where people knew that they had to come. If they wanted to see me in person, I was easily accessible there. And then I would kind of rotate and do some other shows here and there. I did Little Falls. I went up to Brainerd. I'd do a couple like in the St. Cloud area. But the thing about the Long Prairie one is it was always consistently busy.
Yes.
From start to finish, there was always someone walking in front of my table. Like no matter what, even if they weren't stopping, there was always someone moving through the aisles. Yeah. Whereas other shows, it'd be like, well, it's been an hour and I haven't seen a single person walk by.
Really?
The foot traffic at Long Prairie is always consistently good. And like, it's one of those shows where I knew that I was for sure going to make my vendor fee back plus more.
Good.
So
good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, kudos to Diane for starting this. It was a lot of work. And, people ask me, well, why did you purchase from? Well, she did so much work. I mean, all of just making a map of the gym and of the commons and then getting the concession stand information. And she has a list of what I'm supposed to do every month and where to advertise.
Yeah.
So, and she has a budget sheet and everything. So that kind of information. And she gave me 1,000 names of vendors. That mailing list alone. That's priceless. Exactly. And so I sent out a mailing list every year, but now we're getting more technology. I bring the next year's form registration to the show, and we get at least 50% of our vendors back every year.
Because they know that they're going to have that foot traffic. It's just such a great event, and it's so well organized. Like there's some, like just as a shopper, I'll show up to some places and be like, yeah, this is rough. Long Prairie does it way better.
I'm flattered. I can't take the credit, but we're doing our best to continue that.
Yeah. It's a well-oiled operation.
It is. And so it takes a while, like on a Friday, to do all the taping. We do all the taping of the booths, and then we put down the little sticky notes with the numbers on it. And then to get the food ready and timed at the right time. We still have to, there's some still little things that we have to do with that because some vendors are alone and then they need someone to bring it to them. Yeah. We got to figure out a way to feed them.
Yeah, it's tough. Like my mom and I always tag teamed it.
Yeah,
and like
that's a good idea.
Last year I had like the worst. I don't know if it was a cold or what. It wasn't COVID because I tested myself multiple times, but I was like sicker than a dog. And I had 3 vendor shows right in a row. It was,
oh my goodness.
One before, I don't remember what, or maybe Long Prairie was my first one last year. So it was Long Prairie, Little Falls, Brainerd. Boom, boom, boom. All right in a row. And I was sick for all 3 of them. And it was me and my mom against the world. And I just kind of sat there like pale and sick. And my mom handled everything. It was like,
oh my goodness. She
was the real MVP of Minnesota Mutt-Co in 2023. Couldn't have done it without her.
Oh, thanks, Mom. Yep. Thanks, Mom. Yeah, I got sick the next week. And it was with COVID. I mean, a lot of people coming through.
And you're literally going from place to place to place, checking with people, making sure everything's good to go. And
yeah. But at least we got the show done.
Yeah, the show got
the show must
show
go
was
on.
Great last year. What I really like about this one too is you guys make it so easy for vendors to get in and out. Like there's some places that are like really hard to load in and out of, and you guys are great about opening all the doors and letting people come in on Fridays to set up for the Saturday show. That is so huge because it helps with the traffic congestion, especially on show morning. Like
Yeah. We're even going to open it up a little earlier this year because why wouldn't I? In town, I live 2.5 miles from the school, so I can open at 3:00. And so we're thinking of opening up at 3:00. I just have to rewrite the vendor's letter, and 3:00 till 9:00, and I'll have a couple people hanging out there. The vendors are really self-sufficient. There are not many that need help.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they would like help to get in and out. That's one things we'd love to do too, to get volunteers that could be tipped, but that's another organizational logistic thing that I can't.
And it's hard, especially on a holiday weekend like that, to get
to get people.
People are so out of town.
So that's another on the to-do list. Yeah. And maybe if I have an assistant one of these days, he or she will do that.
Yeah, they can take care of it. Put that at the top of their priority list.
Yeah.
Well, it's just such a great thing that you guys do for the community. There's so many talented vendors here locally in the Long Prairie area that set up at this. And in the surrounding areas, I know a lot of people travel for it as well, but it's just great to have a spot where people know they can go and sell and show what they made.
Yeah, we have people from Wisconsin, from the cities, from North Dakota. They come through. Like I said, some have 4 booths, some have 2. Some make huge things like metal sign. And then we have dog bandanas or dog biscuits.
Yep.
Who was at
Braden's, yep.
Yeah. And then young girls and their mothers making things for fundraisers. And we used to have the Sandviks with their pottery.
Yep.
And now they've retired. But that spot I give to Erin Patchik.
Yeah. She's got her flowers.
She's got her flowers. Yeah. And so she's exactly the same spot that Carol Sandvik was. It's a good memories of the event. Last year we had Candace Parrish. She was up in front. We always feature one person right up in the front. There are 2 booths there, and Candace makes chocolates. She's a chocolatier.
I think that's the word for it, yeah.
Her beautiful chocolates were being sold up in the front. And we have Matthew Brighter, who graduated, and he was kitty corner from you.
That was kind of a fun, it wasn't last year, it was the year before, where it was my booth, and then Matthew Brighter was like kitty corner, and for those listening, you can actually go back and listen to Matthew on the podcast. He was on earlier this summer. And then it was Kate Hillig. We were all in one little triangle, and we all graduated together.
Was Heather Lipsmeyer there too? I think Heather was there one year with her too.
Yep. So it was me, Kate, and Matthew, and we all graduated together. We're like, class of 2014, represent. We're all right here.
In the gym again. Spirit. Woo.
Yeah, look at us. We're so entrepreneurial.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that going on. This year, I think I'm putting, Wayne Skillings, remember? He does these little lures.
Fun.
Wooden lures, and he's going to be up front because he's local.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And he used to be a custodian at the school for years and years and years. And everybody knows Wayne.
Everybody knows him.
Smurf? I think they call him Smurf.
Yeah.
And so he's going to be up in front.
Wonderful.
And then in the corner, right as you come in, Mr. Hoffman, he's always had 4 booths. And he's from Stock Center. My son plays with his grandson in hockey.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Like I said, connections.
Everyone knows everyone.
Yeah. So it's going to be a good year. And if you do want to see the flyer and share the flyer, I have it on Facebook. There's a Long Prairie Craft Show Facebook page. Also, longprairie.org on the event calendar. If you go to November 30th, it's 9 to 3, and there's a flyer there. There's registration. Of course, registration, we are full already. I think about a week and a half ago, we filled the place. And so I have a waiting list of, I think, 6 people already.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the ones that usually comes, I forgot. Sometimes you want to call the ones that are there every year, but all of a sudden I had a list of people and it filled up.
Yeah.
And so I put him on the top of the list. But there's also the layout of the gym. There's the layout of the commons area, so you can see where everybody is.
Perfect.
And I'm going to be giving a whole list, posting a whole list of 1 through 165 of who's where.
Wonderful. And it's free admission. Come, shop, enjoy yourself, enjoy the sights and sounds of the holidays. It's a great way to kick off the season.
I have to thank people too. Minnesota National Bank usually gives us like cloth bags.
Yep.
And UCare, Lutheran Services, Coburn's. Last year, Eaton Funeral Home gave these really nice gold ones with bows on them. And we have out in the front, we usually have Centricare. Last 2 years, we have Centricare Toys for Tots. Yeah. Fill the ambulance or something to that effect.
Yeah. So bring in toys that if you like, I know I stockpile my Toys for Tots donations year round. So then it's a great place to just bring them, drop them off, fill up the ambulance.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
I always go frantically looking for toys.
Oh, see, this is like pro tip. If you take anything from this podcast, take this tip. Okay. So what I do is every time I go to Walmart, I walk through the clearance aisle, and if there's like a cool toy there that's like relatively affordable, throw it in the cart, and then throughout the year I just like bring it home, put it in a tote box, and then at Christmas I have a full tote of toys.
That's good. And they did say that they really need toys for, not toys, but things for teenagers too.
Okay.
Like makeup and or
cool teen things.
Cool teen things, yeah.
Okay.
And Callie Christensen, she always has a list.
Okay.
And so I got to get that list ahead of time and just take it with me, put it in my pocketbook, and go wherever I go shopping.
Yep.
You're at Target or downtown. Haley and Ray's, if they have a sale.
Yep.
Just grab one of their sale rack ones. Put it in a bag. Good idea. On the outside, we also have popcorn.
Yes, the kettle corn. Can't go without getting a bag of kettle corn.
You're making me really anticipate this.
Well, it's like 3 weeks away.
That's it. I have to send out my vendor letters.
Well, thank you so much for letting me come here and invade your space and chit chat about all things Long Prairie and the craft fair. This was so fun.
It's nice seeing you again, Abby. You have done wonderful things and love hearing your voice.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much for checking out another episode of the Small Town Tourist Podcast. If you're looking for more information on the Long Prairie Craft Fair, I have that down in the show notes for you below. If you're looking for more content from me, you can follow me at the Small Town Tourist on Instagram and on Facebook. And be sure to check out the blog, thesmalltowntourist.com. I will catch you next week.